Increased geopolitical tensions in the Arctic poses challenges to scientific collaboration as well as academic freedom. In this episode of Arctic Frontiers Unpacked, we are exploring the topic with Margareth Hagen, Rector at the University of Bergen, as well as Sfraga, Ambassador Mike Sfraga, Chancellor at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Welcome to both of you. So to start, Margareth, how would you describe the impact of current geopolitical shifts on academic freedom?
Oh, that's a huge question. When it comes to globally talking, it's the shift has been dramatic and it has changed. And during the last, let's say, 5 years, but even before that, because the security situation is changing every year to come, and but these last years it has also inflicted more the Arctic research and the Arctic regions too. So what we do as university rectors and as researchers is that we do our best to keep the international collaboration going, and also, of course, within stronger security limits. And I think that it has also changed the way we are thinking about international collaboration now. I think we are more on a positive side. It makes us also it's an eye-opener also to strengthen our efforts for maintaining academic collaboration and also to find new partnerships and to explore the wider possibilities in international collaboration. Because research is international. It should always, a national research is not strong research, so we have to maintain a strong international collaboration. And that's one of our major tasks as university rectors and vice chancellors.
An eye-opener, Margaret said. Would you agree on that?
Yes, there are two things happening, which is why I hesitate to answer right away. Two things. One is academic freedom, which is very different to me than international collaboration and research. So academic freedom, as a chancellor, you stand for academic freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of our faculty to pursue their research, freedom to speak their mind, freedom to craft their classroom, to have discussions in the classroom without being inhibited. So we defend academic freedom. Different countries have different approaches, but my country, my university, stand firmly on the side of academic freedom. In terms of international cooperation, we've seen, I think, two shockwaves, two disrupting events have happened that have brought us to this point in terms of the need for more international cooperation. One is Russia's full-scale invasion on Ukraine that cut off a lot of international collaboration with Russia. For the Arctic, that's a very big deal for us because of the size and scale and the importance of Russia to the Arctic in terms of the physical landscape. The second is just following the foreign policy of the United States and the emphasis now on bilateral relationships versus multilateral relationships. That's a very different lens through which many of us have worked through. So as universities, we're having to work through what it means to collaborate bilaterally and multilaterally. And also we hear doubts about it from our allies and partners and friends about how reliable is the United States across a broad spectrum of issues, but in terms of lasting effort and investments in research as well.
Do you find it more challenging to find collaborators with the policy that the US is leading now?
So it has been very strong. It was even stronger. After the full-scale invasion, I was very supportive of doubling down on our collaboration with our allies and friends and partners because we needed each other now more than ever. The new dynamic with the administration is something we're still working through. What I can say with confidence, though, is there are two things happening there as well. One is the administration's view and funding parameters and funding wishes for research across the board, including Arctic research. But it's very interesting what Congress did. The United States Congress stood firm on investments in research and holding research to be a pillar of U.S. Stance in the world, best for the United States, best for our partners and allies, best for the globe. So a Trump administration wanted to cut back on the amount of money for research, but Congress reinstated most of that money. So those budgets are basically flat, which is a good thing because the Congress understands how important research and science is to the United States and to our partners and our allies.
Have you seen any change in the collaboration that the University of Bergen has had with other partners due to these examples that he came with after the war in Ukraine and also the Greenland-US situation?
The last years there has been a lot of changes. First and foremost, due to the Ukraine invasion, full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and our collaboration that we used to collaborate also with Russian universities and Russian researchers, that is completely terminated now. So that's of course a big change, and it also impacts largely also the Arctic research and also the maritime, the marine research, which is both very strong fields for my university, the University of Bergen. And when it comes to the US and also when it comes to China, there is also still security measures. But when it comes to US, we follow the situation tightly, and it hasn't. And of course, we are very worried about the infrastructure, the investment, and the infrastructure collaboration with in marine and polar research, and how that will also impact the future climate research. And we are of course also very concerned about academic freedom and what is going on in the different universities of the states. But we, as a main line, we strongly want to continue and even strengthen our collaboration with American universities. There are strong universities, strong research going on there, and we need to preserve also academic freedom and freedom of speech, and also the dialogue across borders, which is the main issue for a university that it doesn't preserve freedom of speech, freedom of research. It's not a proper university, and it's a university that can't really produce strong research that can be trusted. Mm-hmm. So we really need to preserve our role as institutions, a particular role as institution in the liberal democracies. I mean, you have the free press, you should have the free universities, you have the you have the parliament. Those are different institutions with particular scopes that should be preserved. Mm-hmm. And our role is to maintain academic freedom and lay the grounds for strong international research in our institutions and international collaboration.
Mm. With all the attention that has come to the Arctic lately, with the political attention, I could say, do you see all the discussions about security in the Arctic, about sort of the attention shifting towards security? How do you see that affecting scientific collaboration? I guess start with you, Mike.
Well, it ripples throughout the scientific community. One is, there's different ways to look at this. The first way, I guess, to look at this is that it's spurring on a lot more, I think, research to understand the domain, to understand the Arctic, to understand it better for a lot of different reasons. Ocean acidification, fisheries, just the maritime environment is shifting and changing so drastically. But there's a securitization part of this as well. So there's basic and applied research happening. All nations are doing it. So there's research that is into security, that is hard security. All nations do it. There's more of it happening in the US, in Canada, Nordic nations, European nations. But I think we need to be careful to not over-securitize, but be eyes wide open as to what's happening. Eyes wide open on politics and policy and geopolicy and great power competition. This is real. And universities have a role in basic and applied research. So that's one area. But I think we should take this opportunity to open up the aperture on how we define research effort towards security. There's water security, food security. Security can be defined. There's community security. So I think this is an opportunity for us collectively to talk about security writ large, not just about hard security. But again, understanding full well, a lot of research has to go into understanding this domain, understanding this environment, what it means for security, but also what it means for the people of the North as well. We should not lose track of that.
When you say that we should have our eyes wide open, what should we have our eyes wide open to?
Well, we're in the middle of, this is a multipolar world now. There's China, there's Russia, there's the United States. I mean, Davos showed us that there's a shifting geopolitical environment, shifting frameworks of policy. Nations came out very strong in their stance about frameworks and going forward in the world. And so I think eyes wide open means understanding that universities are not siloed from the rest of society. They are not siloed from what's happening geopolitically. And they shouldn't be swayed by them, but they're sure influenced by them. And that's just the reality. But as I said before, in the United States, the Congress passed a number of bills that kept our research funding basically level when there were proposals to cut research, which is good. That's across the board. So eyes wide open means we are shifting here. There is, if you look at how many trade missions since the last 6 weeks or so have arrived in Beijing from different countries, that should signal something, that there's a shift happening. But there's aspirations for China to be a blue ocean nation. They have aspirations globally. We have a war in Europe happening, and we have the United States readjusting its view from the administration on what it means to be the United States in a post-Cold War, post-World War II environment that we helped set afloat and we helped create, I think, for the better. So we shouldn't be swayed by it, but we should be eyes wide open as to what environment we're dealing with. And that's why I think we both agree that we have to increase our international collaboration and partnerships in research. One, for just basic research to understand the Arctic, the globe better, but two, is to bind us into that rules-based international order that I still believe in, into multilateral efforts, which I still believe in, and the power of research and science to help serve society.
I think to wrap up, Margareth, Mike talked about eyes wide open, but also about increasing collaboration. How do you see your university moving forward? Because Mike here is talking about all the positive sides. Congress is actually keeping up the funding despite all the bad news that you see in the US. But how are you moving forward with increasing collaboration and moving forward with this in this geopolitical attention? These geopolitical sensitive times.
Of course, to us in Norway, Europe is important. What is going on in Brussels is hugely important to us. The negotiations with the new European Framework Program, Horizon Europe, is something that we are following tightly, and I hope and I believe it will also be a framework program that will open up also for external collaboration with external partners outside Europe. And so that's I see this as an opportunity and as years where we should be more strategic and also have our eyes wide open also when it comes to definitions of dual use and of security, and I completely appreciate everything that you have said. Universities are institutions that, and research is also something that could be passively just used also by external stakeholders, but we should stand up for international collaboration and international research, because that is the really core of what we are doing. And our main mission is to create new knowledge, to enhance science and also enhance education for the future generations. That is an international task. It's not only a national task. So important times, and also for us as universities, really indeed.
Thank you. Mike, do you have anything to add? Some last words?
The importance of universities and research institutions, always, but going forward, they're going to be more important. The knitting together of researchers at the faculty and researchers level to understand this world better is fundamental to our societies. So although we may have some geopolitical differences, maybe even tensions in some places where we didn't have before, at the university level, at the researcher level, it's fundamentally important for these cooperations to remain, because politics can ripple, they can come and go, they can change. What hasn't changed over 8-9 decades is the fact that universities and collaborators and researchers have worked together through good times and bad, and that needs to be maintained well into the future.
Thank you, both of you. We can cut.
Thank you.